It's been a couple of years that we've had Donald Trump now, and you would think that the media would have learned something from this experience of 2 years of him campaigning, 2 years of him being president. But some of the most respected and long-standing sort of bastions of American journalism still don't seem to have really learned much. And I want to show you a couple examples of articles that I read over the weekend that drove me batty. So first, remember Hope Hicks? Hope Hicks was close advisor to Donald Trump, apparently somewhat of a friend to Donald Trump, as much as a sociopath can have an authentic friend experience. And so she's actually been asked by Congress to come in. She's been subpoenaed by Congress to testify about the experiences that she's had with Donald Trump, because of course in the Mueller report, she is referenced several times. And take a look at how New York Times Politics pitched the experience she's having. Hope Hicks, one of the best known but least visible former members of President Trump's White House staff, is facing an existential question, whether to comply with a congressional subpoena. And then you see that photo of her looking down. Now, in their defense, that's what 50% of all photos of women on Instagram look like. They're like looking down sort of shyly to the side. But she has been subpoenaed by Congress to tell what her experiences with Donald Trump were. And they're pitching it as, should she take a soul expanding journey to India to find herself? That's not an existential question whether to comply with a congressional subpoena, but look at the cover, look at the lengths that the New York Times will go to make it seem as if she's just facing one of those sort of midlife crises, that people have, including glossy sort of headshot style photography. Is this how normally when people are questioning whether they should comply with the law or not that the media pitches it?
Not if they look like me.
Well, you've had some great headshots taken recently too.
I'm sure if I was contemplating breaking the law, they would find some hideous driver's license photo that looked like a mugshot. But no, this is ridiculous. And I think also the focus should be on the fact. And a subpoena, it's a subpoena on purpose because it forces someone to appear. It makes it the law.
Yeah.
So essentially, she is contemplating breaking the law, but that's not what this looks like. She doesn't have a decision. You don't have a decision on whether or not to break the law.
Yeah.
It's not, you're supposed to follow the law. If you choose not to, that's a problem. It's not, picking, what color hair you want today.
Exactly.
I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, and so let's just read just a little excerpt from the article. Her dilemma now is how to respond to House Democrats who have grown frustrated and increasingly aggressive in the face of a sweeping decision by the Trump administration and the Trump organization to oppose such subpoenas. Again, that framing there is that it is a choice that they can make whether they will oppose or go along with subpoenas. Now, they've provided a little bit of context there. They've made clear that Hope Hicks is not the first person in the Trump administration or the Trump organization that is considering not complying with the law. But I would say that if you want this same sort of framing, I don't know, maybe it's supposed to appeal to people like me who are undergoing some sort of midlife crisis. They just want to use the word existential. How about this? America faces an existential question, whether a democracy can survive when one of the branches of government decide that the law doesn't apply to them. That, I think, is both a more accurate headline and really gets to the heart of the matter. Whether Hope Hicks will be able to slide by on some combination of the privilege that she has as a white person, as a highly placed, politically connected person, that's not an interesting question. We're seeing that every day. It's the New York Times' job to go deeper than that. And they have barely scratched the surface on a significant constitutional crisis that is unfolding every day.
Right.
And this is not the only example of it. So I don't want to just attack the New York Times. Let's make time for the Washington Post as well, or at the very least the Washington Post magazine, who had this tweet from the magazine. George Papadopoulos pleaded guilty to lying in Russiagate. Now he has a sexy new life in Hollywood. That is literally, that's what they wrote. That's not like the version of it that BuzzFeed aggregates or the sort of mocking version that Breitbart would have of it. That was their tweet. And that photo, no, hold on, we gotta go back to that photo because look at that photo. They did a photo shoot, and by the way, the article is filled with them. Don't check it because I don't want them to get any traffic on this, but him making kissy face berobed photos, the article is full of those. So, Hope Hicks at least has evaded any sort of legal consequences for what she did. She's just sort of enmeshed in it. And by the way, chose to be enmeshed in it and chose to continue in a fundamentally immoral administration. George Papadopoulos has already been found guilty of lying. And the Washington Post magazine believes-
He went to jail.
Exactly, for a limited amount of time, but yes. the Washington Post magazine feels that it's their job to rehabilitate him. So New York Times, Washington Post, it's a two-shot of these people who decided to be a part of an immoral and criminal administration. It's our job to make them look glossy and pretty and to give them makeup and fancy clothes. And to whatever extent that George Papadopoulos has a sexy new life, which nobody cares about and probably isn't true, this is the sexy new life. If you have a sexy life in Hollywood, it's because organizations like the Washington Post decide to use their resources and their time to take photos of you and to do these little spreads about you. I don't have a sexy life in Hollywood because the Washington Post has not given me one yet.
He doesn't
but
have
look
a
who they
sexy
decide
life
to.
in Hollywood.
He's
like
wearing a
talk
robe.
to someone logical.
He's wearing a robe and sunglasses. That's never been necessary before.
No, but I am stuck on the word sexy because that is an opinion. It's not an opinion that this writer shares with me, but it's an opinion. And I find that fascinating because I think the Washington Post still, as much as they fact check, they still struggle sometimes with calling racism in headlines, calling Trump a liar in headlines, because they have decided that some things are opinions or some people, but calling George Papadopoulos sexy is an opinion. It's not even an opinion that I imagine one shares with a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And so how does that slip through?
Yeah, it slips through because I don't know, they want access to the administration. They want to make sure that other people that leave it decide to talk to them. I don't know, but I do know that they're making a choice here, and they have decided that they will be just another version of the Ben Shapiros and the Dave Rubins, where their job is to whitewash horrible people's past actions and choices.
Right.
And that's what they'll do. They could have given this spread to literally anyone. There's all sorts of people. We're gonna be talking about people later in the show
they
who've been victimized.
Covered this
by the police, by Border Patrol, all those things. You could give them a sexy new life and put them in robes and put them against a white background if you wanted to, but you chose not to. You chose to do that for Hope Hicks and George Papadopoulos, people who, to whatever extent they've had an influence on the country, it has been in a negative direction. And entering into an election, that's a scary thing to see the media once again getting into.
I honestly just want to know the readership on this before people started complaining about how ridiculous the decision was, because I have no care and I like messy stuff. Like I will read anything written about George and Kellyanne Conway and what goes on in that house. Any and everything, I will read it.
Do they have a sexy life?
Do they even speak? You know what I mean? I don't know.
I don't even know who that other person is, and I don't want to.
It's
unnecessary.
No desire, yeah.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.